I know it looks like the rantings of a madman there, so don't. I'll try to explain some of that as best we can as we get into this. If you would turn to Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5. Thank you, buddy. Just lay down. Be fine. Yep. Thank you. Genesis 5 is a chapter of genealogy. How many of you have researched your genealogy a little bit? A few of you? Yeah, cool. How far have you gone back, Billy?
Very far.
Very far. How far would be very far?
I can't confirm it as it is, but I was able to go back to like 980.
So that's how many years? 1100 years. Okay, 1100 years. Anybody else gone back a ways? How far? I see your hand. Not very far. 40, 50, 100? 120. Okay. Do you know where you all started to come from? Where were you from? Very Irish. Okay, interesting. Anybody else checked out your genealogy? Who else? I saw some other hands somewhere.
I haven't personally done it, but my family has done it. I've read back, and it's where we signed and come over on the boat from Germany.
Oh, really?
Signature on there.
Very interesting. Yeah.
I haven't done it, but I've had a lot of people do it, and it all came to me. And so I've got it on paper. It's like 1,400. It goes that far back.
Okay, about 1400. Anybody else?
Done some reading on it through my dad's mom's side. We're related to Mormons, Joseph Smith and all that. They're big into it, so
That really explains a lot.
they've traced they've traced things back eons.
Yeah, yeah,
I've done some reading on it actually.
yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Myself.
My dad's mother, he never knew her because he was 15 months old when she passed, but she was full-blooded Cherokee Indian.
Okay,
And his dad's people was from Germany, and my mom's people was, on her side of the family, was from England.
okay, okay. I think it's interesting to trace some of that back, to kind of explore your roots, I think it's obviously an important thing. The fifth chapter in the Bible that's the whole thing. It's a genealogy. And so I think it is important to God. And God is showing us here, I want you to remember this, that in the early pages of Genesis, God is showing us two lines, two branches as people begin to split off. And the one line is the seed of Satan. It's Cain. It's his line. It deviates from Adam. Cain killed his brother, and so there's something said about them in chapter 4. And then chapter 5, you begin to have the genealogy of Adam. And it's different. It's a different kind of way of recording it even. In chapter 4, you have Cain's line, and it talks about some of their accomplishments. And early man there were some things that were very interesting. They were makers. They were creators of things. They built things. He built a city. There were musical instruments, so there would have been no doubt the ability to create and craft an instrument, but also the ability and desire to create something artistic and poetic and something that would be interesting for people to hear. And so there was some of that. And then you get to the line that records of Adam, and God is writing down this linking together these lives, and it is leading us. He's showing us where it goes to Noah, and then from Noah it goes to a man by the name of Abram that becomes Abraham, and then Isaac and Jacob and Joseph and Judah, and just on and on. And God is showing us the formation of the nation of Israel. And so God's saying, this is important to me. This is what I'm recording. I'm highlighting this. There's a lot of history that God did not record, not that it wasn't interesting, not that it wasn't somehow important, but God's distinction here is I'm showing you the line of redemption. That is the key thing. That is where my great purpose in all this. So let's look here in chapter 5. We'll read just a little bit of this. And we'll look at the whole chapter. It says in verse number 1, it says, "This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died." And so those first 5 verses set the pattern for the rest of the chapter. And I'm not going to belabor this. I'm not going to kind of beat this in your head, because it's somewhat, in a sense, repetitious. They lived, they had a child. He calls out one particular son through the line. There were other sons and daughters. It's not to say that they were not important, but for the story, this son that was born is the one that the line passes through. And so look at your sheet there, and you have Adam. And my graph, I got doing this late one night. I got so interested in this, I really got locked into it. It was really weird. And at one point, I messed up somewhere, and it's kind of like a checkbook thing. I could not let it go till I unraveled some of it. And so you have Adam on the left top of your corner, and at the top, there's 100, 200, 300. That's the years, and you lose that at a certain point. But it says Adam and 130. 130 is how old Adam was when he had his son. And so obviously this is a different kind of world than we're living in today. It's not the same kind of world. I think at 130 years old, it seems that Adam still has great vitality. He has the ability to reproduce. He is still a fit man. Eve is still a fit woman. They're healthy. Matter of fact, after they give birth to Seth, after he fathers Seth, Adam lives another 800 years, if you can imagine that. And so you follow that out, that line, if you go straight across the page, and there's a box there, it says 930. That's the year, that's the age that Adam is when he dies, 930. So what are these other numbers? Well, let me kind of get there. Go all the way back to the left side. The next line down is Seth. He's born when his father is 130 years old. And the next number there on his line is 105. You see that there? 105 years old. That's how old he was when Enos was born. Look at verse number 6. It says that Seth lived 105 years and begat, fathered, had Enos. And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. He lived, he begat this one son that is called out, but he had other sons and daughters. And after he begat this one son, he lived another 807 years. And so this is the kind of thing that I want you to see. When Seth had his son, his father was still alive. If you look at the line above 105, his father, Adam, is 235 years old. He's still living. I think the thing that we sometimes forget is that as this line is marching through, we forget who is alive at this time. Adam is still alive. Matter of fact, he's going to be alive for another almost 700 years, another 695 years after Seth has his grandson. Imagine that. Oh, I tell you, I wish I was a younger man when I had my grandkids. I'd like to play with them a lot more. He did it. He did it. And so Enos, he's go on down to, it says that he was 90. Look in verse number 9. It says Enos lived 90 years and begat Canaan. And so Enos lived after he begat Canaan 815 years and begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died. So that's kind of the repetitious thing. They lived, they gave birth to the son that the line is going to run through, the seed of woman. Not the seed of the serpent. The seed of the serpent is Cain's line. The seed of the woman that's going to bring the promised Messiah, that's what he's giving us. That's what is important. He said, this is what I'm trying to spell out. And so when Enos they had the son, Canaan, Adam, if you follow it up, he's 325 years old. And so that's the thing, back and forth. I want you to see that. And then the next son, and at 65 years, he's 70 years. Mahalalel is born, and on across that top line, you see how old Adam is. He's 460 years old when that one is born. 622 years, 687, 874 years old when Lamech is born. 930 years old, he passes away. And so you have this living, birthing, dying again and again and again. And so you have the end date. You have Adam lived 930 years. Seth lived 912 years in the boxes there. Enos, 905. Canaan, 910. Mahalalel, 895. Jared, 962. And you get to a man named Enoch. We'll talk about him just a little bit. Enoch, his father was 162 years old when he was born. Wow. That's interesting to me. 162 years old when he's born. And he has his son Methuselah when he's 65. It says here about Enoch, look at verse number 21. It says, and Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. Methuselah has the distinction of what? What is the distinct thing about Methuselah that we know? Oldest man in the Bible. 969 years old. Oldest recorded man in the Bible. And so it says that he begat Methuselah, 306, and after, let me start over. Verse 22, and Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he died. It doesn't say that. It says, and he was not, for God took him. That's interesting. That's different. If you look back in chapter 4, there is a man that is the seventh from Adam. Lamech is his name. We talked a little bit about Lamech, I think, last week or the week before. Lamech, in verse number 19, chapter 4, verse 19, it says, and Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Adah bare Jabal, and he was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. So here's a man that has two wives. That's not the way God intended us to be. God meant for one man, one woman for life, male and female, to have a life together and to have a long life together. But he marries two women. That's God records it. God doesn't condone it. He's just recording the fact that it did happen. He's not blessing that union with those two wives. And there are a lot of people in the Bible that have a multiplicity of spouses. God's not endorsing that. He's recording it, though. So he's messed up there with his home. And then it comes to a place where he calls his wives in and apparently sits them down. He said, I just want to tell you what my day's been like. I killed a man. I killed a man. What a thing to have to tell your family. And so he is a man that is not to be respected. He's a man that has messed his life up. This is the seventh in the line of Cain, the seventh from Adam. Enoch is also the seventh from Adam, different line, the line of Seth, the line of the seed of the woman. And we have this man. He's not like Lamech. He's not. There's two Lamechs here, so it's maybe a little confusing. Enoch, it says that he walked with God. He walked with God. What is it like to walk with God? What is it like to have communion with the Lord? To walk with Him and to talk with Him, to enjoy the fellowship of God. That's the way his life was characterized by that. Did he work? No doubt. Did he raise his children? No doubt. He did everything a normal man would have done. Anything that he would have been called on to do, he did, and he upheld his responsibilities. But his life is characterized by this overarching thing. He walked with God. There are things that we could say about each other, the things that we would tell other people about us. And oftentimes when I get around a bunch of men, there was a fellow I met the other day, went on a little trip that I drove for, and we're talking, and he's kind of quiet man, and I began to speak with him a little bit, and where he's from, where'd you live, what'd you do, what kind of job did you have. Those are the kind of things we don't want to know, and those somehow define us. I don't want the thing that define me is to be defined by where I live or anything like that, but I would like to be defined by this. Hey, he walked with God. Man, he could pray. He could get a hold of the Lord. He was a holy man. Those are the things that we would want to be defined by. And so Enoch was defined by this. He walked with God, and it says that after he has this child, Methuselah, that will eventually be the oldest man that's recorded in the Bible, he lives a total of 365 years. And so he's walking with God, and he's walking with God, it appears, most of his life. All of his life is characterized by this. And it says here that he was not, for God took him. I'm just going to take him. I want him to be with me. You can talk about all the reasons why that happened. This man did not die. He did not die. We're living in a generation that it could happen for us also, that the rapture could take place and he would take us, that we would not die. That could happen. And so Enoch is short-lived in the sense of 365 years, not anything like his son Methuselah is born there. And so I want you to follow that down, that line: Adam, Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, and you get to Methuselah. Methuselah is born, and Adam is how old? You follow that line up. Adam is 687 years old. And he has this son, another man by the name of Lamech. Methuselah is 187 years old when he has this son. You follow that up. Adam, still alive. And so each of these people, Adam is alive, Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, and Methuselah, all these men are still alive. Do they know each other? Do they see each other? Do they have one crazy family reunion, the Adam and Eve family reunion every year? I don't know. Do they have birthday parties still after 900 years? Would you do that? Maybe you just celebrate every century. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the family, the cultural dynamic, the social part of that. Maybe you have something you want to weigh in on this in just a minute. I don't know, but the possibility is that for each of those men to be able to be with each other, and you get down to Methuselah has his son, Lamech. When Adam dies, Lamech is alive, and he's 56 years old. All these other men are still alive also, except for Enoch. Well, Enoch is still alive. Lamech could have been the guy that was entrusted with coming up with the tomb. He could have been the guy that was tasked with digging the grave. He could have been the guy, hey, you're the youngest one of us all. You know, I quit digging graves when I was 800, some of them may say. And so Lamech is still alive. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It would be the 9th generation out, still alive. Now, what would that be like to have that kind of information, to have that kind of wisdom, to have that kind of world where people longevity, I think sometimes, I just say it, old people know things, right? They know things. There are things that sometimes you go back and look, and you hear people talk about how they would can or how they would preserve things. And sometimes young people say, I wish I knew how to do that. And they need somebody that is older sometimes to teach them those things, how to do that, how to preserve things, how to care for things. And so you have this generational thing, this wealth of information, this ability to have somebody to teach you not just how to do things in the world as far as crafting, preserving, growing. But I think there's also this abundance of spiritual potential that is there. This walking with God for years, not just there seems to be a steadiness there in these men's lives that could have been passed on from generation to generation. And you get to Lamech has Noah when he's 182 years old, and Noah is the first generation that's recorded in this line that he would say, Adam is gone. I did not know Adam. I could not have known Adam. And so I think that's just a very interesting thing. You may not think that's interesting at all. Every one of these men, when it talks about them, it says that they lived. It doesn't say that in chapter 4 about the line of Cain. It says it about this line, the seed of the woman, that brings about the Redeemer. It talks about them that they lived. They lived. If you're a believer, you're living. Your life is different. And we thank God for that. I want you to also notice this about these people. They're recorded, and it doesn't say anything about their achievements. It doesn't say anything about what they built. It doesn't say anything about what they created, what they thought up, what they dreamed of. And so there is this quiet passage of mankind here. It's almost as if the world was recording this, they would have said, these people are nobodies. They don't matter. There's nothing about them that's interesting. I think God takes notice of these things. God notices. You may say this, God, other than God, I don't know that I'm making a splash in the world. I'm a nobody. There's nothing really to write about. But God notices the quiet passage of your life. There is something to be said for a person, a man or woman, that lives their life in quiet obedience to the Lord. That is a worthy goal for your life, just to walk with God, to live for God, to raise a family, to teach them the principles of the Lord. You say, I'm nobody. God takes notice of nobodies that follow him quietly. And I believe God is going to elevate many people that the world would have said, you're a nobody, you've done nothing with your life. I think God is going to elevate some of those people to very prominent positions because they labored for the Lord. They were quietly serving God in difficult days, and they just did. They took care of things. They were responsible. They loved the Lord. They walked with God. I want you to notice this. Not only who was alive when Adam died, but I want you to notice this also, this last thing. Look in chapter 5, verse number 28. It says, And Lamech lived in 182 years and begat a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. The name Noah has this thought of rest. He's going to bring me some rest. He's going to bring some comfort. I'm tilling the ground. He's going to help me to do that. Doesn't quite get the rest that he thinks from Noah. And maybe he is a helper to him. But the rest is coming from the seed of Noah through the line of Shem. There is one that's going to come and bring rest. That is the Messiah. It is the Lord. And it says, And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years. And he died. And Noah was 500 years old. And Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And I'm not going to talk about the birth of his sons yet. I'll save that for another time. But I want you to see this. You follow that line, Methuselah. When Noah started to have his sons, his first son was birthed when Noah was 500 years old. Lamech, the next line up, 682. Methuselah was 869 years old. Lamech died first at 777 years. That was in the year, if you're going back, if this is accurate, Lamech died in 1651. That's from the day that Adam was made. 5 years later, Methuselah dies at 969 years old. It looks like that Methuselah died and the flood came. That he died, and there's some people that believe, and I don't know that I could say this, but I think it would make sense. Some people believe that Methuselah died the week before the flood came. You ever heard that? You ever heard people talk about that? I don't know where that comes from, but I think that could be real. Could be real. It happened. He died the year of the flood. He dies, and the flood comes. There's 7 days where they're in the ark, and then the rain begins to come. The earth breaks up, and Noah is 600 years old when the flood comes. His boys are 100 and a little younger, 100 years old. There is the notice. There is the direction from God that at about 120 years out that he is instructed to build the ark. And so he may, I don't know that it means that he worked on the ark for 120 years. There could have been planning involved in that. I think we talked a little bit last week about this with Al when he was here. The possibility, this could have been a very advanced society. I mean, a very interesting day. How long have we had cars? How long have we had cars? Cars. How many years? When was the first car made? 1909, somewhere around that turn of the century. So about 120, 125 years, something like that. Planes, you know. There's a lot of things that have happened in the last 200 years. When Lewis and Clark went west exploring this country, the fastest that they could go was on a boat or on a horse. That was the fastest anybody could go until they built a steam engine. When they built a steam engine, they put it on a boat, a river boat, or they put it on a train, and things began to speed up. No man had ever been faster than that steam engine before that. And then after that, we get the steam engine, we get gas-powered engines, we have nuclear-powered things, we have incredible ability today, and much of that has taken place in a very short time period. I don't know what kind of world this was. I asked Billy specifically, he traced back their line maybe 1,100 years. This line, this lineage here, 656 years. A lot of things could have happened, especially when you think about the fact that these people maybe were mentally a lot more capable than we are today, more healthy than they are today. Vitality a lot longer. So anyway, I just think it's an interesting study, thinking about how long these people lived and what they could have done with the time that they were given. And so I want to kind of stop this here and see if you have any questions. I don't know that I have answers for you, but you may have questions regarding this little sheet. I think you probably could go online and find a lot better version of this, but I just enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed putting it together, and it was just fun to think about for me. So anything about this? Any thought about these generations of people that would have maybe known Adam? Anybody else? Yes.
Question, I just think it's interesting how 100 years after Adam died, or thereabouts, that Noah was born, and there's everything that we know about in the days of Noah. I just wonder if after Eden, if Adam was a very not on my watch type of guy, and how much of everything imploded after, in those last 100 years after Adam died.
Are you saying that maybe he didn't teach, didn't train? Is that what you're saying?
But that he just was kind of the patriarch holding everything together, and then when
I see, yeah.
There was like 100 years before Noah was born, and then everything.
There is this. You do see this with families, that certain things will not happen while someone is alive. You see that happen. But when grandma dies or grandpa or mom and dad die, that people will begin to do things that they never would have done when they were alive. So there could be, I think there could be a lot of that. He would be, now think about that connection all the way back to Eden. That just would have been incredible to have a first-hand account of someone that talked about the life that they could have had. And I don't know. I don't know how he would have. This is a question I have. How did he deal with the regret of all that? How did he deal with the guilt of that? No doubt, seeing people die, knowing that that was on them, and hopefully he's resting in the grace that God gave them in that. So, anybody else?
I was just gonna say, on a lighter note, my brothers and I used to tell a joke that I think we made up when we were kids about Enoch and Methuselah, and we'd say who lived longer than his father but died before his father did.
Hmm.
And it was Methuselah because Enoch never died.
Right, right. Okay.
Genealogy jokes.
Yeah. Funny genealogy humor. Did you know that all these people were alive while Adam lived? Did you know that? Some of you didn't know that? Okay, that's a good thing. One good thing we got out of this then.
Nicest thing about it, they just had one language.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been, imagine, just people could travel and,
I found a book at home, some about the whole thing. Just imagine when Adam and Eve was put out of that Garden of Eden. They had an awful time.
mhm,
And they write this person that based on what they dug up and what people, since they had the language, anybody that could record anything
mhm.
when they started, but they back it up. It sounds pretty good. The other thing I question, at one point, they were saying that Adam and Eve committed suicide together, and God brought them back.
Hmm.
But when they were put out of that garden, they're in heaven on earth, and you're put outside of the garden.
Mhm.
And if God hadn't have directed them to a cave, they would have never made it, probably.
I don't know.
Whether they didn't have anything to work with.
I mean, they would have been very advanced mentally, and there's a lot that, like I said, a lot of things are just not recorded. So it'll be an interesting thing to talk with them about what that was like after they left. So, everybody good? We can maybe turn this part off here. Just got a little business to take care of. You've seen outside here, we've taken up the sidewalk. It looks